I find the phrase educate yourself to be incredibly interesting because there's no equivalent of this in Romania. Like you're having a debate with someone and that person tells you, hey, why don't you educate yourself? Go read this book. Usually when a smart person is talking with an uneducated person and the uneducated person says something, the smart person would just correct them. They won't tell them, it's like, hey, you need to read an entire book. Right? It doesn't happen in Romania, but it's very often on the internet. And as this person says on Reddit, educate yourself is a sure sign of a woke social justice feminist extremist who is deep into the ideology. Is their go-to retort when they are losing the principle of the debate. It's a form of gish gallop. Read what I tell you because my refutations to your argument are gone over in what I say to read. In a sleight of hand that works among those susceptible to appeals to emotion, but it isn't actually substantive. Part of this is because the literature they want you to read is just postmodernist trash that say everything while saying nothing by design. Also, they likely have not read what they tell you to read. They read one gender studies book in a 101 class on their way through college and act like they read every piece of poorly sourced and structured, mind you, postmodernist literature. So this is actually true because, when this type of conversation with feminists was popular on Twitter, I actually did read what they told me to read. And what I did notice is that most of them didn't know what they are actually telling me to read. So I was a little bit baffled. And the parallels that I can make is with an indoctrinated religious person, like a religious extremist, not just like a normal Christian, like someone that's a radical who never read the Bible, but claims to know the will of God, claims to know what Jesus wants, is lecturing you and is telling you how to live your life based on his principles. And if you disagree with him, he will tell you, go read the Bible. But he himself never read it. And secondly, it's the idea that the book that they're telling you to read, like for example, the feminist literature, is just like the holy book. I mean, it's 100% truth. It cannot be debunked. It cannot be refuted. And the simple act of a person reading the book means that they cannot possibly disagree with it. And if they do disagree with it, it's because they didn't understand it, so they have to read it again. That is the mindset of progressive ideologues on Twitter. Because I did speak with actual university professors who were feminists, and they don't tell you to go read a book. Like, they actually do have a conversation, and they understand what is being written in the literature, so they're actually smart and educated people. But when you talk with the activist, the drone, if you will, like the one that's just trying to push the ideology, more often than not, they don't even understand what the ideology they're preaching. They don't understand the literature. So that's why they tell you to go read the book, because they literally cannot explain it, but they don't want to lose the argument. They don't want to lose the debate. So what they do is they tell you, like, go educate yourself in order to make it so that they seem educated in front of the public. And at the same time, they position themselves on top of you, and they don't have to continue the debate. So that is why they say educate yourself. Now, if you want to do a thought experiment, whenever someone tells you to go read a book, you should be like, okay, tell me what book to read. And they'll probably give you a book. And then you say, I'll read this, but I want you to read something else in return. I want you to read Thomas Sowell. Or I want you to read Jordan Peterson, His Rules for Life. Or I want you, right? And if the person says no, then they're not interested in a conversation. They're not interested in a debate. They're interested in indoctrinating you. Like, they want to impose their will upon you. And you shouldn't have any conversation with that person. I mean, that is a mean-spirited person, is not treating you as an equal. In their mind, you are less than them. And there is absolutely no reason why you should pursue this forward. The only reason you should pursue this forward, I guess, is if there's an audience around you and you want to expose that other person to being mean-spirited, to being a bully, to being all these nasty things that they are. Because, again, like, you would not push something on a stranger if you're not going to be willing to at least hear the stranger out and be at least willing to hear the other point of view. Which is, again, like why these Reddit posts, all of them, are censored and they don't let you post, they don't let you form out something. Like, as you can see, like this guy on Reddit is making a very coherent argument. There's no insults here, there's no cyber harassment, there's no bullying, there's nothing like that. It's just like a normal post, but he is not allowed to participate in the discussion. Why? Because that's the only way they manage to impose the ideology, through gatekeeping. Because if you have like a progressive person, like a postmodernist on a stage, there's a neutral audience, and he talks about the abolition of private property, he talks about the redistribution of wealth, he talks about all these things, and then you have a capitalist like Milton Friedman, and he talks about self-empowerment, he talks about how you can get control of your life and how you should succeed in society and contribute. It's very unlikely that any person is going to side with the postmodernist. So this is why they have to deplatform. This is why they need to make sure people don't get to hear the other side of view. This is why they need to make sure that certain people are unwelcome. This is why they need censorship. This is why they need to ban things. And this is why you need to educate yourself. So yeah, if you want to educate yourself, Lindsay is a very good educator. He's got a YouTube channel. He's also got like a Twitter account. A very, very good person that understands all of this social justice ideology, and he is able to translate it. And once you actually hear it, it just makes you bewildered. It's like, how can people believe in things like that? And the reason is because they don't know anything. It's a Romanian proverb. Be very aware of the person who only reads one book. I mean, that is a person that's far more dangerous than a person that doesn't read any books at all. And the sad part is that it's very impossible to de-radicalize people once they've been indoctrinated into an ideology. The Emperor's New Clothes story comes to mind, where the Emperor says he's got magical clothes and they're very beautiful, but stupid people can't see them. So if you're stupid, you can't see the Emperor's clothes. Now, when asked, you can say, well, you have two choices. You don't see them. So you can either say there are no clothes and reveal that you're stupid, or you can pretend that, yes, they're the most magnificent clothes ever. And whenever someone asks you, you keep going. It's like, oh, yes, absolutely. Now, when you're in a crowd and a kid claims that the Emperor is naked and everyone is laughing, you have two choices. Number one, you can admit you've been lying the whole time, or you can double down. And because of pride, because you're now prideful. You don't want people to consider that you're a liar. You don't want people to consider that you've been manipulating others. So you're going to double down and you're going to say, no, clearly the kid that everyone else was laughing is stupid. Because there are clothes. You definitely see them. They're beautiful. And it's the same with people who are indoctrinated into ideologies. Like, they're not going to admit they're wrong when they notice they can't argue their position. They're just going to say, no, my position is clearly right. Maybe I'm not capable of arguing, but someone else is. So go read that person's book instead. And if you didn't understand it, read it again. Because clearly it's your fault. The ideology is perfect. And I'm a good person. Because if the ideology is wrong, then I'm a bad person. And we can't have that. So it's pride. That's why you can't de-radicalize people very easily. That's why you can't just argue people out of an ideology on Twitter. So let me know what you guys think. And I'll see you in the comment section. Take care.